What's going on, YouTube? This is SG1 Sports, and you're watching our SEC football channel. We're updating our top 10 players list for each of the SEC teams. LSU is up next on the schedule. If you watched our first video and you read the comments, it just shows you how good, how talented this LSU team is. Because I gave you 10 really good players, and then there was comment after comment. Well, what about this guy? What about this guy? So I would go research that guy. I said, wow, this guy, maybe he should be on this list. And so it was really tough to narrow it down to 10, but I took your suggestions from the first video. I did a little bit more research, watched the spring game, and I put together a new top 10 list. And there aren't a whole lot of changes. I think we only added one guy to the list and then changed the order of some. But I do want to acknowledge the players that I think are going to be really good that didn't make it onto the top 10 list. And like I said, that just shows you how good this LSU team is and how much talent they really have. So some guys that you're not going to see on this list, we got Jacoby Stevens at safety. He fell off the list. He was actually on the original list. I had to make room for a new addition, though, and he's the guy that fell off the list. You got Braden Fihoko at defensive end, a really talented player. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, if he's the starting running back, he's going to be on this list. But as you guys know, I think there's another guy that may beat him out for that job. You got Siaki Ika, the defensive tackle, true freshman, really impressive in the spring. I think he's going to be a monster on that defensive line. And then Jamar Chase at wide receiver, another guy that is, I think, set to have a big year. So those are just players that didn't make the list. Those are our 5 players that could probably be on the top 10 list of most of these teams. That's how much talent this LSU team has. They're going to be really good. But now let's get into my updated top 10 list. At number 10, we've got the true freshman running back, John Emery Jr. He was the number 2 running back recruit in the country. I still think he's going to wind up winning the starting job at some point during the season. We'll have to see how that plays out. But the kid is really, really talented. I watched his highlights and just was really impressed with him. I think he's going to be the best freshman running back in the country. I've got him at number 10. I actually dropped him a little bit just because I wanted to move some other guys up. And just because we don't know for sure that he's going to be the starter. He didn't go through the spring. And we don't know when exactly he would take over that starting role. But still, I think he has to be on this list. At number 9, I think it's the best wide receiver on this team, Justin Jefferson. Last season, 875 yards receiving, 16.2 yards per reception. So he was making big catches. He had 6 touchdowns. And Joe Burrow looked really, really good in the spring game. If this passing game can take that next step, you're talking about a guy that I think will easily be over 1,000 yards if he remains that go-to guy for them. And just a guy that's going to be really, really talented. Justin Jefferson at number 9. At number 8, we've got another true freshman. It's Derek Stingley Jr. And made a name for himself already. If you watch the spring game, had a really impressive interception in that game, a play where he just ran stride for stride with the receiver. And you could just see his ball skills, his cover skills, his athleticism. If you watch that spring game, this kid is going to be really, really good. He's going to start as a true freshman, no doubt about it. He was the number 1 cornerback recruit in the country, and I think he's going to make a big impact taking over for Greedy Williams in the secondary. At number 7, we've got Joe Burrow. I think he's going to have a really good year. Again, if you go back and watch the spring game, he looked very comfortable. I know it's just a spring game. You can't tell the whole story from that. The offense looked good. Joe Burrow looked good. He's a pretty solid runner. I think you maybe see him not run it quite as much this year. He's capable of doing it when he needs to, but I think you see him more working on that passing game. Threw for almost 3,000 yards last year, 23 total touchdowns. Maybe needs to get a little bit more accurate with the football, but still, I think he's set for a big year. And here's the guy I left off. It's Chaisson, a guy that barely played last year because he got hurt against Miami, and because of that, when I'm going through the roster and looking at the stats, I completely forgot about him. So yeah, we left him off. But you go back to 2017, he had 27 tackles, 4.5 tackles for loss, a couple of sacks, 2 pass breakups. That was only in 9 games. He was poised to have a really big year last year, made a couple of plays in that Miami game. And yeah, I think he's going to be really big for them at that linebacker position. Definitely needs to be on this list, and we've got him at number 6. At number 5, I've got Michael Divinity Jr. Of course, you talk about Devin White being gone, but this linebacker unit is going to be so good again. I know Devin White was a great player, but they've got plenty of other guys that I think are ready to step up here. 54 tackles for him last season, 9.5 tackles for loss, 4 sacks, an interception, a forced fumble, 2 fumble recoveries. He was all around the football. Really, really talented player, and I think he has to step up and be a leader for them at that linebacker position. At number 4, we got Rashard Lawrence on the defensive line. 54 tackles last season, 10 tackles for loss, 4 sacks. He was wreaking havoc all season long last year. Probably the best defensive lineman on this team, and they're really good there. This team on defense is good at all 3 levels. I mean, they're really good on the defensive line, really good at linebacker, really, really good in the secondary. So it is very tough. It's tough to put a top 10 list together for LSU because they have so much talent. And at number 3, we go back to the secondary, and it's Kristian Fulton. Last season, 25 tackles, had an interception, 9 pass breakups. That is very impressive. So maybe we'll see him tackle a little bit more this year. That was actually a knock on Greedy Williams that going into the NFL, was that he didn't like to tackle. So maybe we'll see if Kristian Fulton can do a little bit better job, be around the football a little bit more, make more tackles this season. But still, he's a heck of a player, and I've got him at number 3. Moving on to number 2, and we're going to stick with the defensive side of the ball. It is Jacob Phillips. I think he's the best linebacker on this team, and again, they're loaded at that position. But you look at what he did last year: 87 tackles, 5.5 tackles for loss, had an interception, had a sack, and I think he will be the leader for them on defense, or at least at that linebacker position. Very, very talented player, a guy with an NFL future, in my opinion. And again, it just shows you how good and how deep this defense is as we continue to name off player after player on that side of the ball. But at number 1, there's no doubt about it, it's Grant Delpit. I think he's the best player on this team. I think he might be the best player in the SEC, at least on the defensive side of the ball. That's up for debate, and we're going to put that together at some point. Don't worry. But he's definitely up there in the top 5 in the running for number 1. He had 74 tackles last year, 9.5 tackles for loss, had 5 sacks from the safety position. That is really impressive. Had 5 interceptions, broke up 9 passes. Just a really, really great player. He's going to be a first-team All-American, in my opinion. And I think, again, he is the best player on this LSU defense, a defense that is absolutely loaded. It's a defense that we ranked number 1. I have this as the best defense in the country. And yes, I think LSU is going to be that good on that side of the ball. I'd love to get your thoughts down in the comments below. LSU fans, is this list a little better than the other one? I know I can't get everyone on that list because they have so many great players, but this was my best guess as to who the 10 guys that are going to be the best in 2019 will be. These are the guys that I think will have the biggest impact, be the most productive, and again, just be the top 10 players for this LSU team. Again, your thoughts down in the comments below. Thank you guys for watching, and stay tuned for more here on the SG1 Sports SEC Football Channel.